The Garmin Forerunner 955 has been here for a few months now and, well, it's been my go-to companion all this time. First, let's start with the obvious here. The Forerunner comes in essentially two flavors nowadays, solar and non-solar. The solar version is slightly more expensive, but with that you get the solar charging, which helps with battery life. To me, it's a no-brainer, and I would suggest grabbing the solar version. Now, the battery life on the Forerunner is, well, really good. So in a world where we are used to charging our electronic devices every day or even multiple times per day, it's always refreshing when there's something like this that stays up for days and even weeks. When it eventually needs a charge, I can confirm that it recharges very quickly. So you really do get maximum wrist time with one of these watches. And that's of course also what you want with a watch like this. It wants and basically needs to be on your wrist as often as possible, and that is because it collects data, so much data, and more on that in a bit. Now, sticking to the battery for a second still, so some things affect how long a single charge will last, and well, you can read that here on the screen. Amongst other things, the touchscreen affects battery life as well, because yes, the Forerunner now comes with a touch screen. Now I have to be honest here, the touchscreen works very well, but I basically disabled it as I essentially only use the buttons, and it works great that way too for me. Now also during activities I need buttons, I can't have just the touch screen. So during any race you're going to start sweating, then if you use gels or so, some of that will eventually spill on your fingers and things get sticky really fast, so a touchscreen becomes unusable very quickly during sports. Now Garmin also knows this, it seems, as they disable touchscreen during sport activities by default. Now, as I mentioned, the Forerunner tracks so much data. I mean, it's just next level fantastic at this point. Anything you could possibly need or want to track is here and more. The new HRV status tracking is very cool and is monitored over weeks, not just hours or days. Training readiness is also quite helpful for me. It essentially tells you how ready to go you are based on a bunch of data points it collects, such as sleep, quality, and previous workouts. Now, it helps me from overtraining, especially during the weeks where I suddenly have more time than usual, say on vacation or so, where suddenly I feel the need to go running every day and work out multiple times a day. For me, when training readiness looks pretty horrible, it's usually due to some impressively bad sleep the night before. Now, every morning, by the way, your Garmin gives you a nice and tidy morning report with all these essential need-to-knows for you at a quick glance. So really a lot of data is being collected, which is very cool if you're training long-term and want to keep track of all those metrics and performance data points, which are nicely accessible via the fantastic Garmin Connect app and website. The Garmin Connect continues to be a great selling point for sticking to Garmin watches for me, and it's just super convenient and easy to use. Offers great functionality on top of that with training plans and so on and so forth. Now, other than tracking your fitness levels and performance over time, what I also appreciate is how you can basically make the watch focus on an upcoming event. So for example, if you were to aim for a marathon or another type of race, you can tell the watch when that event will be, what that event will be, and so on. And it will then create suggested workouts for you to try and make sure you are ready for the big date. I tried this out for a 20k and it did the trick for me. Now, in suggesting workout, it will then of course also take into account all the things I mentioned before in suggesting your workout for the day. Now, to get the most out of this watch, I would say you want to wear this as often as possible, perhaps even all the time. That way you get the maximum benefit from all that smart technology and the best feedback as well on your training and performance. Now, a quick word on the Garmin Fenix, because anyone watching this familiar with Garmin watches may say, wait, isn't this exactly what the more expensive Garmin Fenix series does? And the answer is, well, yes, basically it's the same watch. So the Forerunner is essentially an all-plastic Fenix, that's pretty much it. Now, while that may sound like a negative point, there's actually also a big positive to that as well, and it was actually the reason why I went with the Forerunner this time and not the Fenix as I tend to do. So as you must have understood by now, these are watches you want to wear as often as possible. So with sleep tracking, HRV tracking, that also includes wearing these at night while sleeping. And here is where a plastic Forerunner beats out the more premium Fenix series. The Forerunner is considerably lighter on the wrists. So the weight difference is very noticeable, and to me, sometimes, the difference between keeping a watch like the Forerunner on at night, as I can barely feel it's there, and then taking the Fenix off, as the weight would bother me at night. But here again, that's just a personal matter of taste, and nothing says I will not move back to a Fenix series at some point, because I do love them very much and have been wearing a Fenix almost exclusively for the past, decade or so. So this switch to the Forerunner for me was really based on the weight and lightness on the wrist, as I wanted to wear it as often as possible, including while sleeping. So in summary, the Forerunner is pretty much an indispensable training aid and companion to me. It tracks all sorts of useful data during your activity, it gives you workable feedback based on that data, post and pre-activity, and next to all that, it's basically comfortable on the wrist, so not too big, certainly not small, but also not too heavy. I didn't go into it too much in this video, but of course it's also a smartwatch nowadays. It can handle music, Garmin Pay notifications and all that fun stuff. And in addition, while not unique to the Forerunner, this watch of course works perfectly with Garmin Connect, which is just excellent and very user-friendly. If you hadn't guessed yet, yes, I can highly recommend the Forerunner 955.